Hey guys, this is Melissa with Love Covered Life, and today I'm going to be answering a question from my comments. Meta Character asks, I have to ask the annoying question, if I believe everyone goes to heaven, what's to stop me from fornicating tonight? And this question, I picked it because it's representative of comments that I get from time to time where people are making the assumption that I believe everybody is going to die and go to heaven. And so why don't we just live life however we want to because there's no consequences? And so I sort of want to correct that misunderstanding here in this video. This conception is completely understandable because most of us are coming from Christian backgrounds where we are steeped in the belief that heaven and hell are physical locations in the afterlife that we go to as soon as we die. So then when people hear me criticize eternal conscious torment and hell, or when they hear me state that I don't believe Jesus was referring to a hell in the afterlife, it's easy to assume that I mean everybody's dying and going straight to heaven. So there's a couple of things to go over here. First, I don't believe that heaven and hell are physical locations in the afterlife. They can be physical locations and do include that, but there's a lot more to it. I believe that we are all on a journey back to God and that one day all people will be fully reunited with God and that we experience both heaven and hell on our journey back to God. The state of realizing full union with God's unhindered presence is heaven. Blindness to God is hell. Second, heaven could be understood as a place, but not in the way that we understand places as a physical location. Heaven is the unhindered presence of God, and God exists outside of time and space. Therefore, heaven is a state of being fully purified and in complete oneness with God. And because God is everywhere, heaven actually exists everywhere. It's just a matter of us awakening to it, being purified by it, and growing into it and being able to experience it. Is there a physical location called heaven? Well, the physical location of heaven, if we want to put it that way, is everywhere. Any place in the universe that is perfect, enlightened, purified, at one with the Creator is heaven. No illusions, evil, or darkness will exist in that place. That place will be experienced and realized as heaven. So let's backtrack for a moment to help us understand. Let's say that there is a physical place in the universe where God dwells, and that place is called heaven. But then we have to remember, God is everywhere and in everything, so God's dwelling is everywhere. In fact, the Bible says this. Even in the Old Testament, David says that heaven is God's dwelling place and earth is his footstool. And in the New Testament, we are told that God's dwelling is actually within us. We are the temple. That's why Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you. Where is heaven? Where's the physical location of heaven? Well, it's within you. It's all around you. It's everywhere. Hell is also a state of consciousness in which a person is blind to the presence of God. All hells are self-created, whether individually or collectively. We create out of our perception or our state of being in the world. So if we are living in a place of mental and spiritual disconnect from God, then we are creating hells in the world around us everywhere we go, on a metaphysical and a physical level. And that's why there are so many hells in the world around us right now, because there are so many people perceiving and living and creating and being out of a blindness to the presence of God, out of a blindness to heaven. So bringing all of this back to the question, it's not simply a matter of does everybody go to heaven when they die? Are we going to die and go to heaven or hell? Heaven is everywhere and is experienced by anyone with eyes to see it. Hell can also be experienced anywhere by anyone who is blind to the heaven that surrounds them. Therefore, both heaven and hell can and do exist, both in this world and in the next world. That is my belief. Based on what I've read from near-death experiences and quantum physics and people who do regressive hypnosis and people like Tom Campbell who study this stuff from both a scientific and a religious perspective, the afterlife, so to speak, which is really just the state that we exist in outside of our physical bodies, is far more thought reactive than this physical world we are in here. So just like here, except on a more immediate and intense level. What we are, we create. So if you go into the afterlife in a state of hardness and blindness towards God, I absolutely believe that the experience of hell in the afterlife is far more real and profound than it is in this life. And the purpose of that, of course, is to awaken us to the fact that our state of heart and mind is out of alignment with God and is causing us to suffer. And the goal of suffering is to bring us back ultimately to God. So yes, hell exists and people will go there if we want to use that terminology. In this world, we see a lot of hell and heaven mixed. But basically, if you have a physical location existing here or in the afterlife in which there is no heaven mixed in with the hell, that place would be considered hell. Here in this world, things like child trafficking and war and people dying of hunger and spouses screaming at each other and child abuse and kids growing up in gangs and parents abandoning their kids. What would we call that if not hell? So of course there are places in the universe, in God's infinite universe where he has created and given us free will, where there's more heaven than hell or more hell than heaven. But it's all dependent on the spiritual state of consciousness and awareness of the people who are living and experiencing and creating there. And of course there are going to be places where only hell is being created, and that's going to be what traditionally religion has referred to as hell, where people who are so blind and so hard go into the afterlife and end up in a place like this because they are completely devoid of heaven within themselves. And so that's what they create and that's what they experience in the very thought reactive afterlife. So that's my very roundabout way of saying yes, I am saying that eventually we will all go to heaven, but no, I am not saying that we will all die and wake up in heaven after this lifetime. We experience the hells and the heavens that we create with our own state of being, our own state of mind and heart. Whether or not a person goes to heaven or hell has a lot less to do with fundamentalist belief and a lot more to do with state of mind and heart, state of awareness, state of being. As spiritual beings, we experience the health that we create until the suffering awakens us to God within us, awakens us that the way we are living is out of alignment with our true nature. Suffering, as Aaron Abke says, is a catalyst for awakening. It drives us to find our source, God. And when we can see God within us and all around us, we have gone to heaven even if we are in the midst of hell. Heaven and hell are ultimately not places that we go. They are states of consciousness that we experience. So yes, the choices that we make in this life matter because we will reap the consequences of what we do so that we can learn. So you don't want to go out and waste this life just living it however you want to, thinking I'm gonna die and wake up in heaven. No, everything that we do is gonna come back to us as an experience of either heaven or hell, until ultimately the experiences of hell awaken us to heaven. So I'm going around in circles now. Be loved, be happy, be at peace, and thank you for watching.